Hello, I'm Charlotte Cohen and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 9th of January. And what a weekend of action we have in store for you.
Martin O'Neill is returning to Celtic as manager for the remainder of the season. The 73-year-old stepped in for 8 games in the wake of Brendan Rodgers' exit in October, winning 7 of those.
Martin O'Neill takes charge of Celtic as interim manager for the first time again, and 2 of the most entertaining teams in the league go head-to-head at Easter Road.
Big game. Really big game for us and for Hibs. 2 sides with a lot of momentum and a ground that's probably going to be lifted and with a great atmosphere.
Who will come out on top as Hibs host Motherwell? And there's another crucial match as new Killie boss Neil McCann travels to Livingston.
Looking ahead for the club, it's so important that we stay in the Premiership. That's up to me, Billy, the rest of the staff and the group of players in there to make sure that we start making that look more positive.
We will fill you in on all of this weekend's action.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Alongside me this morning, Joelle Murray, newly appointed Hibs women head coach. Joelle, good morning. How's it going?
Yeah, good morning, Charlotte. Yeah, it's definitely going, and it has been for the last few weeks, even more than normal. But yeah, I'm all good, excited and embracing the new role.
You've got your former boss at the weekend. You play Celtic in the Cup. How's the feeling?
Yeah, I think for us, we're obviously trying to make it as business as usual as we can, and the girls have been in now for 2 weeks, and they've been absolutely excellent. So yeah. It'll be a different dynamic on Sunday, but as I say, we're looking to create that normality, or as close to as we can, Charlotte.
And alongside Joelle, striker Rory Loy. Rory, good morning, Happy New Year. How's it going?
Yes, not too bad. Not too bad. Happy New Year to yourself, Charlotte. Looking forward to this.
Thank you. Well, we'll just get cracking. Let's start at Celtic Park, where Martin O'Neill takes charge of Celtic. For the first time, for the second time, they face Dundee United. I mean, Rory, it's massively important Celtic get back to winning games, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually the third time. The first time was 25 years ago, but it's technically the third time.
True.
So, yeah, it is. Obviously, the last time he was in the role, he picked up a lot of victories, 7 out of 8. Much of it wasn't pretty. Some of it was, but a lot of it wasn't. However, that understanding of how to win games, and people say, well, you can't really influence a 94th minute cracker from Callum McGregor, but you look at Martin O'Neill's time at Celtic, whether it be his first stint or his 7 games there, 7-8 games there, the frequency in which that happens, it can't be a coincidence. It's just that mental edge that he brings to the team through his overseeing eye, and then obviously the coaching of Maloney and Fotheringham. So look, it's probably the worst news Hearts and Rangers could have received, is what I would say. So it'll be interesting, and Motherwell and Hibs, to be fair, who are not too far behind. So it's a fantastic league this year, and I think Martin O'Neill, of course, will add to that as well.
I just wondered, Joelle, because obviously the fans, the reaction on social media has been, they're all delighted, they're all buzzing, this is what everybody was wanting. But I just wonder if that's maybe going to paper over some of the cracks a little bit. I mean, if he comes in and doesn't have the same record that he had during his previous interim spell, things don't look as rosy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's an element of expectation there from the supporters because of the initial spell 25 years ago, and then the brief spell before Wilfred Nancy came in. But I think Martin O'Neill is like Rory said, a manager, a man that gets the best out of his players and his staff, and it's not a coincidence that when he was in, his win rate was unbelievable. I don't think it was solely down to the change in formation that Nancy came in and had the record kind of losses run. I certainly don't think that's a formational thing alone. So I think Martin O'Neill has that aura, has that ability to get every single last bit energy, of mentality out of every single person. And you're right, there will be an element of pressure, an element of expectation because of what he'd done before Nancy came in, but I don't think that'll faze him, and I think we'll see Celtic bounce back tomorrow.
And Dundee United came out on top last time the sides met, but it's been 50 games since Celtic were last beaten at home by United. I think that was back in 1992. Do you think Rory, Celtic are going to look defensively different this time? Maybe a bit stronger if O'Neill opts to go back to the back four?
Oh, well, he will. I mean, there's just no debate on it. He'll play a 4-3-3. You look at the game at Tannadice, and it followed a pattern of games throughout Nancy's time in charge, where Nancy's Celtic team, they weren't great in the first half of every game. However, against Dundee United, they were excellent, and they should have been out of sight. Similar story at the weekend against Rangers. However, on that particular occasion, or both particular occasions, like many of them, a small tweak, tactical change, whether it's a small insignificant one or whether it's a personnel change, and Nancy's got no answer. So I don't think Martin O'Neill will suffer the same fate at the weekend. I expect Celtic to win the game. I don't know if necessarily it'll be swashbuckling football where they come out on 3-4, 5-0 winners. It might be a case of a 1-2, 2-1, that type of idea, because Dundee United on their day are good. I watched them at Livingston 10 days ago. They were excellent, but they weren't so good in the derby at the weekend, so a little bit hot and cold. But Martin O'Neill will play a 4 at the back, and I think they will win the game.
Maybe he's going to surprise everyone and just keep a back 3.
No.
Not a chance. Well, you mentioned, Rory, about them being hot and cold United. I suppose, Joelle, inconsistency is one thing that they have really struggled with, but they desperately need to get back to winning ways, and I'm sure they'll take confidence from the fact that they beat Celtic last time around.
Yeah, they 100% will. I think they'll take confidence and belief. I think they will know that they're going there under now a different manager, under a different. We know he's going to play a back 4 under a different formation. So yeah, they've been inconsistent. They've probably conceded some goals that, I mean, every goal's preventable, but some kind of softer goals. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one because, like you said, we know they've got the ability, the quality to beat Celtic. It'll just be what Dundee United team turns up on the day because of their inconsistent season so far.
Moving on to what feels like a mouth-watering game, Hibs hosting Motherwell. I mean, I suppose Hibs turning their form around. Motherwell have just been incredible to watch at times this season. Could we see, Rory, a high-scoring game between these two?
Well, Motherwell's defensive record suggests otherwise. They've been pretty solid at the back. I think they've got the best defensive record in the league, along with Rangers. So they're certainly close anyway. So, Hibs are going to need to work hard to get their goals, and they're going to need to work hard at the back to keep Motherwell out, because Motherwell play some really, really good stuff, as everyone knows. So I don't think Jens Bertolascu will be hoping for a high-scoring game in which they can come out on top. I would imagine it would be a case of doing what they've previously done. But, Hibs have kind of ticked away under the radar in terms of picking up wins recently. I know they had a bit of a slow start to the season. I think the fact that Hearts have done so well has probably drawn more attention to the pockets of time where they've struggled. But, they're not too far off now. They're picking up wins. They're becoming more consistent. They've won the derby. They've won down at Kilmarnock. So if they can go and beat Motherwell, leapfrog them in the table, get closer to the 3 on top of them, especially with Hearts and Rangers playing on the Sunday, it's not too bad at all at Easter Road. It's really not. And for Motherwell, if they can win it, the sky's the limit.
It's funny you say that about Hibs going under the radar, because that's exactly what Robbie Nielsen said on the podcast yesterday, talking about the fact that Hearts are doing so well has kind of pushed Hibs down a little bit. But Joelle, they took a little bit of time to get going this season, but they're starting to look much more ruthless now in terms of putting opposition teams away.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're starting to hit form, probably the same form at the same time they did last season, and they'll probably rue those early season drop points. I remember being Livingston away. I think we were in a winning position. We ended up drawing. Similar situation away to Falkirk. So I think the club will be quite happy at the moment, but certainly they will rue the missed opportunities earlier on in the season. But yeah, I think they might be quite happy that the attention's not on them at the moment. They'll be quite happy to be going about their business, but certainly the game tomorrow will be extremely difficult. Rory touched upon it. I think in the last 5, Motherwell's conceded once. So if Hibs are to score, Motherwell will need to. Motherwell will make it hard for them. Sorry, so yeah, it will be an interesting game. With Motherwell being probably the most impressive, the most exciting team to watch so far this season.
And I suppose Rory, Hibs have got the likes of Jamie McGrath, Josh Mulligan in that midfield who've been so influential. It'll probably now in this January window be about making sure they can keep hold of them.
Yeah, well, I think given the fact that Mulligan's got a number of years left in his contract, it would take a pretty significant fee to get him out the door because he has been that good. So it depends what level of club would want to come in and bid for him. But I think that a lot of clubs will now be rueing not having taken that opportunity to sign him in the summer. He might have ended up at Hibs anyway, you never know. But he's been instrumental this season. He's been one of the best players in the league. McGrath, I still think he does it in fits and starts. I watch Hibs and there's times where he's excellent, really good, contributes to the game, scores goals. And there's other times where he goes through periods of time where he can be anonymous, and it's difficult to predict what you're going to get from him. He has been very good this season, to be fair, and he's scored that goal in the derby. And I just think, I know we talk about consistency all the time, but it is so prevalent or relevant when it comes to football players. And I think if Jamie McGrath, can find a bit more consistency in his play, and I don't necessarily mean being the best player on the pitch every week, because there's times where he has been, when he's maybe not playing so well, still finding a way to have a real positive impact on the team, whether that's through work rate, whether that's through get back and help the team. I think he's got the potential to be a very, very good player.
Tune in to Off the Ball from 12 o'clock on Radio Scotland, where the guests will be author Andy Bollin and Kirsty Wark. Okay, huge game at the bottom of the table. 12th place Livingston host 11th place Kilmarnock. Livy haven't won in 19 games. Joelle, this is starting to be a bit of a worry for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And this is a massive game for both, because Livy winless in 18, but Kilmarnock without a win in 14. So yeah, it's a massive game at the weekend, and one that whomever comes out on top will be thinking it's a 6-pointer. So yeah, worrying times for Livingston, but equally so Kilmarnock. Will they get the new manager bounce and Neil McCann and Billy Dodds? Who knows? But yeah, I think there'll be a lot of eyes on that game.
Rory's cat trying to get involved in the conversation. I was going to ask you, Rory, actually, Joelle mentions the new manager, his first game. Do you think, what kind of impact do you think he'll be able to have? Do you think he'll toggle with the team too much? Do you think he'll try and just get a bit of stability in there?
Yeah, stability. I think he'll set up with a formation which gives the team solidity and just getting back to doing the basics well. I know it's a boring answer, but it's true. I've been in teams which have been down struggling in the league, and you've got new managers, and that's what they come in and ultimately do. He's a good figurehead, Neil McCann. He speaks well, communicates well, demands respect. And I'm sure the players will react to that. And it's just whether they can go over the line. I've watched a lot of Livingston recently. I've been at a few of their games. They were really, really poor against Dundee United. But out with that, they've been pretty competitive in most games. So they were unlucky at Tynecastle not to nick something, although you could argue they should have been well behind at the break. So it's just a case of whether the two teams, for me, it doesn't really come down to football on Saturday. It's between the ears, it's mentality. Who's got the brains and the mental strength to see it through. But winless in 18-19 is a miserable record.
Yeah, I think they're 9 points after 20 top flight games is the lowest since about 2003, 2004. But I suppose, Joelle, they've not, as Rory mentions, they've not been, overly bad in games. They've just, I suppose, had things not go their way.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely don't think there's been games where they've been absolutely battered in terms of scoreline and performance. Certainly there's been a good few games early on in the season where they were probably outdone with poor VAR decisions, and dropped points and lost points through that. So although they're on this really, really dire run, it's not as if they're not being competitive in games. So I think they need to take great heart and enthusiasm from that, but they need a win soon, Charlotte, to try and use as a springboard going into the next few months of the season, desperately.
And I suppose for Killie as well, as much as they need wins, they probably need some reinforcements in January as well. Rory, how much do you think Neil McCann coming into the club will be able to do in this window?
Well, it's difficult to know. Every single club will want to add, for different reasons. Livingston and Kilmarnock to try and get out of danger, of course. The teams slightly above them, St Mirren, etc., to try and propel themselves up to compete to get into the top six. And then you've got Hibs and Motherwell on the cusp of the top three. So there's reasons for everybody. Neil McCann, when he was in at Dundee, actually put together a really good team who played good football. They just didn't have anyone that could put it in the back of the net. I remember watching a lot of the highlights and things from his teams, and they played really good stuff, but it just fell down at the last. So I think he'll be... I know John Jules is on a good wee run at the moment, but I think having a striker who can put the ball in the net, I think we might see a lot of Bruce Anderson under Neil McCann and can sniff out a goal.
Sounds like your cat might be a Killie fan.
Quite possibly.
The way she's agreeing with you. The final game on Saturday is St Mirren v Falkirk. Joelle, both teams had been doing well, kind of struggling. St Mirren in particular really need to start picking up points. Who do you see coming out on top in that one?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think the last few meetings, the fixtures have been decided by one goal. I think we talk about inconsistencies in seasons, and St Mirren are certainly a team that kind of have followed that trend. So it'll be, I think, a competitive game, but I don't think there'll be many games. Like I said, last three meetings been decided by one goal. Falkirk winning 2 of the last 3, but St Mirren winning the latest one in September. I really don't think I can call that one, Charlotte, but I don't think it'll be a high scoring game, and if anyone's to come out on top, I think it'll be by a goal at the very most.
That's all for the Saturday games, but 2 more on Sunday. League leaders Hearts travelling to Dundee. Dundee, who have somehow turned things around, looking for their 4th win on the bounce. Rory, has Dundee's resurgence surprised you?
Well, first of all, I hope Joelle's wrong, and I hope it is a high-scoring game at Paisley tomorrow, because that's the game I'm going to.
That's where you're going.
So when it comes to Dundee, they have. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I didn't think they had 3 wins in a row in them. I think they've shown enough to suggest they can stay in the league, with the odd win here and there. But credit to Stephen Presley. I genuinely didn't think they had enough in them to win 3 games back to back 3 games in a row in the Premier League, but they've went and done it, and they've topped it off with, if any Dundee fan could ask for a win anywhere in the country, any point in the season, it would be a win at Tannadice. My goodness, did they fight for it? They looked really good defensively in the first half, really good. It's just a shame for them. All their chances fell to Cometio, the centre-back, and Astley as well. And then in the second half, they showed a real defensive discipline, solidity, and did really, really well. So, you always hear these cliches from managers after they lose games. Oh, we're poor in both boxes. Dundee were fantastic in both boxes at the weekend, and they'll give Hearts a right good game on Sunday.
It was actually really interesting listening to Stephen Presley talking in his pre-match presser the other day. He was basically saying, his players need to enjoy this moment, because there's a tendency when you've been struggling to be scared of what's around the corner and that something bad could be coming your way. But he's telling them, like, you've handled this, you know how to do it. And I think he said, Joelle, they'll need to be outstanding to beat Hearts on Sunday, but he seems to think that they've maybe got it in them.
Yeah, I think going back to that message that Stephen Presley communicated to his squad, I think quite rightly so, embrace and enjoy those good moments, because if we go back to the very, very start of the season, Stephen Presley himself, there was a lot of negative narrative. So football is obviously played on the pitch. We look at physicality, technical ability and quality, but I think Rory touched upon it earlier. The mentality, the mental side of the game is absolutely massive, and fair play to Stephen Presley, because he's come through quite a lot of negative criticism, and he's got Dundee playing some really nice football, not really conceding overly much at the back, and then he's brought players in to be creative and get the goals at the top end of the pitch. So yeah, I think they will need to be at the top end of their game, because Hearts are obviously having a fantastic season. They've brought in the new boy Chesnikov, who has been much anticipated arrival. So we'll see whether he gets included within the squad. But out with him, they've got players like Braga, Shankland, who have been enjoying scoring goals for fun. Cammy Devlin in the middle of the park. You could go through that Hearts team and talk about standout performers this season. So yeah, I think it will be a more competitive game than we maybe thought it would have been if it was a game that came about a couple of months ago.
And the final game of the weekend, Aberdeen v Rangers again, this time at Pittodrie. Rory, do you think Aberdeen are going to put up a bit more of a fight at their home ground this weekend?
Yes, I would imagine so. I think when it comes to Aberdeen, it was a difficult moment for Peter Leaven, who did well in interim charge last time, for it to be his first game going to Rangers, who are high in confidence at the moment, coming off the back of an Old Firm win. I think they will be more competitive, but they need to take their chances. And Rangers can, as well as they're doing at the moment in terms of picking up points, it's not overly. You don't need to work overly hard to expose them at times. Balls down the sides, balls over the top. Puts Aberdeen through and goal a couple of times, but they don't have the quality to finish it off. The players do possess the quality to be able to do it. It's just whether it's a lack of confidence, a lack of belief, or whether it's just panicking in those moments. But Peter Leaven will have seen enough to know that they can trouble Rangers. But obviously they need to work on their set pieces against, because whilst it's very difficult to mark somebody who's 6.5 foot just coming battering the ball into the net with his head, it's not easy that, but you need to find a way to do it. Then obviously Raskin scores a second from a corner. So there's two set pieces which separate the teams at the weekend. Rangers were relatively comfortable, minus a couple of scary moments. But it'll have a different feel to it on Sunday. Whether it has a different outcome, we'll wait and see in terms of the result and the winners of the game. But it'll certainly won't be as comfortable for large spades of the game for Rangers, I wouldn't have thought.
Well, that is all we've got time for. Many thanks to Joelle and Rory, and thank you very much for listening. This weekend's football coverage starts tonight at 7:30 on the BBC Scotland channel, with coverage of Partick Thistle and Ross County. Remember, we are here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.